Okay, so now we're going to look at standard ankle lock, okay? But we're going to do it shallow style, the way I like to do it. Most of the time, I only hit my ankle locks very shallow, as I think it's more deadlier. It makes more of a pop instead of just doing a standard ankle lock, right? So it's standard, but we're going to do it, what I call it like a standard shallow ankle lock, okay? So we'll have you here on this side, and I'll show my breaking mechanics, okay? So again, let's note right now that we're in double pull. We are still grip breaking. We're still pummeling, okay? And we have now added the knee slipping, okay? So anytime that we're doing this, it should be all those things at once, okay? And then the minute we get into it, we can start going right into our attacks. We're going to show you, but ideally you can still do this from a knee slip to the inside, catching, going right to single leg X, okay? When we're on the single leg X, just make sure that you have the right motion for single leg X. Make sure that this shin is pinching on the far side and this foot is pinching on the hip, okay? And then we're going to catch the ankle lock, okay? When I catch the ankle lock, okay, I'm going to do it shallow. So I'm just going to try to get my wrist bone to the Achilles, okay? And I'm going to sit up just to show you. Stay there. I'm going to get here to here, okay? I'm going to bring it like I'm doing a guillotine. So my back is rounded and contracted. Okay, so rounded, contracted. I'm bringing my hands going on my wrist. My hands grabbing my hand. We are not going to let the wrist slip at all. We're going to, once we attach it, we're going to lock it in like it's nailed in. Okay, now once it's nailed in, okay, there's a lot of space for my hand to fit in, which means it's super shallow. Okay, so alone it won't work. The way we're going to do this is, and without the feet, you're going to see what happens. I'm going to grip, and I'm going to turn all the way towards the mat. That space that was there disappears because my elbow falls to my hip bone, my shoulder goes right to the mat, and now it's a shallow ankle lock, but there's no space. Now, here, the finishing mechanic is going to be upward, okay? Upward, bringing it's nailed, right? My wrist is nailed to his Achilles. It's nailed, and I'm going to continue pulling it as if I just want the nail to fall through his bone, okay? Never slipping. I'm not slipping, okay? So the wrist bone's not sliding. It's latching on. Once it latches on, I fall, and I continue that motion, and I get a finish. You see how he's raising his hips? If my feet were blocking his hips, I get a tap. And this is the way we're doing the shallow ankle lock, okay? So, real quick recap. Wrist bone, we're catching, nailed inside, reinforcing with my hand, upward, here. When I fall, I don't take my time to my back. I fall directly to my shoulder, okay? Here, all the way to my side, just like this, okay? This would not matter if I had a modified version, stomping on the foot on the hip. That's absolutely fine. I like to keep it simple because simple fundamentals work, okay? And it's super important. Catch, catch, okay? Here. Now I'm going to put the feet inside where they're supposed to be. Hip bone, pinching, clamping. I'm on my elbow. You are allowed to be on your elbow while you feed this. You can catch it, okay? Wrist bone's going through, okay? It's nailed in. It's upward, right? Now I'm going to fall directly to my shoulder. My elbow is going to go right to here. Now, continue on. We're going to get that finish. Bringing my own wrist bone right to the Achilles and making sure we fall. We previously went over this in one of the leg entanglements. I believe it was probably volume 1, where we fall from the top. Same thing, but now we're doing double pull, and we're just trying to tighten it up. Okay? So, you can either knee slip in, your leg pummeling, boom, get the knee slip, catch, boom, here, through, single leg X, catch. We're making space. So if you ever get too tight, you can just relax and bring the wrist bone all the way to his ankle. You can go onto your elbow. Pinch, pinch, adductors on, okay? Pulling in, and then falling directly to your side. If it's done right, he will not be able to get up. You continually pull that pressure in nice and tight, and we'll get a tap. Okay? Consistent. This means that once I hit this, I never fall and relax the tension. Tension stays there the whole time. So we'll go here. Let me get through a little bit. Through, catch, here, through, single leg X. Or you could do double and go single leg X. However you want to get there, right? It's too much for me to tell you one specific way. Once we get the single leg X, my shin on his hip bone, my foot on his hip bone, I can get my wrist bone to his Achilles, lock it in, okay? Now, super important, we're gonna apply the pressure here, okay? Here, rounded back, here. Now we're gonna fall with that, and we'll get the finish here. You know you're doing it right if he raises his hips up to relieve pressure. That means it's super tight, okay? But our feet, my foot on his hip and my shin is locking him in place enough so when he tries to raise up, he cannot do it anymore and the pressure is applied. Okay. Let's do a little bit more of an angle. Let's do a little bit more on this side. So boom, we're here, we're in double pull. He goes, he weaves in. Okay, I'm breaking. Foot comes in, knee slipping, catching, foot on the hip, onto my elbow, catching the wrist bone, applying pressure, and fall and catch that motion. Okay, same thing, I'll show him the other side. Right here, he throws his feet in. Okay, I start breaking the grips. Boom, I slide inside, whether it's sliding in or knee slipping in, catching, sliding nice and tight, getting the very, very, very shallow ankle lock, pressure, nailed in through his bone, rounded back, falling, and applying this pressure. Very, very, very tight, standard ankle lock, shallow style, but when you fall on the ground, it will not feel shallow anymore. It will feel very painful. Your wrist bone, okay, directly to his Achilles, making sure that you continually apply pressure upward, okay? And then when you fall, it continues. It doesn't slide. There's no sliding of your wrist bone. Once you have a position, you should fall with that position, keep the tension, and continue to apply pressure. Your foot, side of the hip, your other shin bone on that hip bone itself as a wedge, continually pressure down, adductors on, and catch that finish.